What's going on, gentlemen? In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to analyze Facebook ads in 2025. This is going to be how I personally have been approaching it for the last couple of years, building my jewelry brand in the pet space called pupring.com. So let's just, with no bullshit ado, let's get right the fuck into it. So ultimately, when analyzing your account, you want to identify what is making money and what is not making money. And to do that, you need to know what your break-even CPA is. Now, what does that mean? It means what can you pay to acquire a customer for break-even? The way you want to calculate this for your business is very simple. You want to take the average order value, how much money you're extracting from your customer for each sale, and you want to deduct that by your cost, right? What does it cost you to deliver that product to your customer? So this could be cost of goods delivered. Obviously, you can add in here fees, subscription costs, etc. But for just simplicity's sake, we're going to use this formula here. So let's just say that your average order value is $50. And let's just say that to deliver your product to your customer, it's going to cost you $20. What does this leave you with? Well, look at that. This leaves you with $30. So that means that you can spend up to $30 to break even on the acquisition. Okay, so that's going to be an important metric that we're going to be utilizing when analyzing our accounts. Okay, before we go further, I would like to break down a few more metrics that we're going to be looking at alongside of the break even CPA here. So the other metrics that we're going to be looking at, I'm going to start with hook rate. Now, what is hook rate? Hook rate is how many people are you grabbing the attention of? So how many people within the first 3 seconds are stopping and watching your content still? And you can see the metric. You can see the metric here for us. It's shown here. Now, this is not a metric that you're going to just have by default. This is a custom metric that you need to add. So let me go ahead and show you how to add this metric. You want to click on customize columns. And then let me make myself a little bit smaller here. You want to click on create custom metric. You're going to be prompted with this here. And you want to do 3-second video plays. And you want to divide that by your impressions. And you want to have this as, we can just say here, hook rate example. And the format here you want it to set as percentage. Now, when you create this metric, and I can add it here, you'll see that you're going to have the hook rate right inside of your column here. Now, what is hook rate? Again, why is it so important when we're analyzing our entire account and the ads that we're running? This is what tells us how many people are watching within the first few seconds and how much attention we're grabbing. And it's extremely important to understand how much attention your ads that you're creating are grabbing, because that's either going to make or break your creative. And I'm going to go through a few more of these metrics that I'm going to want you guys to add in your accounts if you don't have them already. And then I'm going to talk about how you use them all together when analyzing an account to be able to make media buying decisions. Cool. So that's one of them that is, I believe, super important. Ideally, I'm going to touch a few more thoughts on hook rate. Ideally, you want to have a hook rate that is over 25%. If you're able to capture 25% of the impressions to watch at least 3 seconds, I would say that's a good, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job, and there's a good amount of people there that are watching your video and want to learn more. Let's just say your hook rate is really low. That is an indicator that you want to take your content back to the drawing board and potentially put a better hook on it. And what that can then do is you can then grab more attention with a better hook, and lo and behold, you might have that same sequence, the rest of the video, that works beautifully with that, and you can completely bring a piece of content from not working to working by simply getting more people's attention grabbed at the beginning and potentially speaking to that demographic a little bit better. You can scale creatives also that have low hook rates, but you can scale significantly higher when something has a high hook rate. You'll see here in these examples that we're going to look at in our account that the ads that have had the most amount of spend, so I'll go here by amount spend, and this is just last month in our creative testing phase, you'll see that they are the ones that had over 25%. Particularly the top spenders here were 37%, 54%, 45%, right? So like really getting that attention at the very beginning, super, super important. Moving on here, click-through rate, I would say is another important one. This is one of my favorite metrics to look at because it's one that you can control by having better offers per se, by having better urgency, by having more genuine content that speaks more directly to your demographics. You can improve your click-through rate, which will allow your cost per click to go down, and you can have more efficient ads that make you more money. And again, we'll touch a little bit more base as we go forth on how you can, directly look at this when media buying. This is a metric that's by default inside of the columns. So you can just click on custom columns and you can look at CTR, and just the link click-through rate is the one that I like to look at. Cool. Moving forward, conversion rate. This is another custom one that I'm going to say you guys should add if you don't already. This one is pretty simple also to go ahead and get added. All you're going to want to do is go back to the create custom metric, and then you're going to want to go ahead and add, let's go purchases, and we're going to want to take the amount of purchases we have and divide it by the link clicks that we have. And you can either do link clicks or unique link clicks. It'll give you slightly different numbers here. And we're going to go ahead and put, we're just going to say CVR example. Also put it as percentage, create metric. I'm going to go ahead and apply it here. And you can see, we can see the conversion rate now on each of these ads. So you can see here, this is the original one I had, 8.69, and you can see 8.69. Now, why is having conversion rate inside of here super important when making media buying decisions? Well, some ads are going to do a better job at getting intent to go from the ad, from Facebook over to your site, and this shows you which ones are doing that, which ones are sending better intent, because those people are converting more, right? So this can let you know which ads you can scale more heavily. Look at this. If you look at our top spender here, right, this spent $5,000 this last month. It had an 8.69% conversion rate, right? That ad was sending traffic that was converting at that rate, and that's great, right? Compared to some of these other ones, yes, these here were also great. But like compared to these, compared to the 2% down here, right, this was kicking ass. So this is a great metric that allows you to, let's just say that you have, we'll tie into ROAS and your CPAs here. But let's just say that some of your other metrics are kind of going downhill, but you still see that people are converting at a super high rate. That allows you to continue to have an ad running and an ad scaling without breaking things, because they're still in that intent is still converting really well. And it can be used to fuel your middle of funnel, your bottom of funnel, your other stages of awareness. So that's kind of why I would say it's important. And last but not least here for metrics, before we dive into how you should be approaching using these all together, is going to be the most important, which is your CPA and ROAS. So cost per acquisition, what are you actually acquiring your customers for? And you can see here, I have it as cost per result. So I have it as cost per result. Again, this is inside of the custom metrics. I'm sorry, it's not a custom metric, but you can just type in cost per result and you can add it in there. This is going to be telling you if you're making money or not, ultimately, right? This is telling you what you are paying in exchange for a customer. And this is a super important metric to look at on a blended level. All right. And I want to make this very clear. If you're trying to media buy on just like a 1 to 2 day basis, you're going to go insane, and you should not do that. You should instead look always on a minimum of a 7-day plus blended view. And that is that is for my criteria and many others that I know, something that should be standardized, because anything less than that is not enough data, right? Different weeks will perform differently, right? But typically we have, for example, Monday, Tuesday is worse than Thursday, Friday. So if you're just getting data from, a very small period in a week, you're not getting enough, right? And you're not taking into consideration the weekends and things that might really contribute to that ad performing, right? So don't kill things too early, right? And that's what we're gonna dive into here next, into how to use all of these together. Cool. So let's do that. You're running creative tests, right? All of you guys should be at the very foundational level in your ad account running creative tests. That should be your main focus. That should be what is fueling all of your scaling, etc. When you're looking at your creatives on, again, a 7-day level. So let's go ahead and take a look at, we're going to take a look at these last 7 days in this account here. You're going to see a few things that are quite interesting. Okay. So you can see this ad here, this Alex Injection ad that has really high cost per results, right? These are unprofitable cost per results. And this is an ad that we were just looking at the blended view this last month. So this last month, that was super profitable. That was a 2.43 return on ad spend. That was underneath our break-even cost per acquisition. It was making money. Now, what I want to show you here is that this creative had a lifespan. Okay, when we started initially running this creative, you can see here, this was around the 21st of January, and you can see it was from the 21st of January. Look at amount spent here. From the 21st of January, you could see that our cost per purchase really went down, right? Like we were able to acquire customers for cheaper and cheaper as we were able to spend more and more on this. Okay, now what is that showing us? That's showing us a creative that is getting scaled. I'm showing you guys here how I want to pass down why I scaled it, the metrics I was looking at while scaling it, and use this as an example of a winning creative that you're going to see when you're testing your own creatives, okay? Now, this was scaled because of two things. This was scaled because our cost per purchase was going down as our ad spend was going up. As I saw that this was getting a really good cost per purchase, again, this is going to be the metric you're going to look at for, is it making money or is it not making money? I was able, as I saw it had a really good cost per purchase, I was able to increase the ad spend. And as I was able to increase the ad spend, I was able to get more and more of a return from this creative here. Now, again, what I want to touch also on is the other metrics we talked about. For example, the hook rate. So if you look here, this had not the highest hook rate out of these here, but it had a pretty decent hook rate. And if we go and take a look at this creative, I want to kind of break it up a little bit. If your girl has a dog, you're going to want to hear this, right? So if your girl has a dog, you're going to want to hear this. I squeak a little squeaky ball, and I have POV, she has a dog with a red flag and a dog emoji. That grabbed X amount of attention, and that allowed this creative to have now guys that have a girl who has a dog to continue watching my video, right? And that is shown through the high hook rate here. And tying into it, look at the conversion rate. The conversion rate on this ad is higher than on a bunch of these others that we tested that did not work, that got killed pretty early on. So when I'm seeing high conversion rates on an ad, when I'm seeing high hook rates on an ad, when I'm seeing an ad that has a really good cost per result, and when I'm seeing that I can increase the spend on that ad that has a really good cost per result, with that cost per result not fluctuating way too hard, that ad can be scaled, okay? So when analyzing the account, what am I looking for? I'm looking for ads that can get scaled. I'm trying to make more money. I'm trying to increase the spend across things that are working. At the same time, there's going to be things that don't work. And even things that do work, you'll notice that they don't always continue to work. And that is why the importance of continuing to creative test exists. That's why it's so fucking important that you guys continue to creative test every single week, because as you see here, these have a lifespan. If I were to go now and look at this creative going into February, you're going to see that the blended return on ad spend is kind of a lot more mid, right? We dropped down to a 1.7 here, and you'll notice that it got a lot more expensive to run as we got into the month of February. And this is to, I want to now showcase how I came to the decision of killing this. Well, as I said, I always look at a blended 7-day view, right? And as I'm looking at a blended 7-day view, I'm asking myself one question: which direction is this creative heading in? Is it heading in a direction where it's improving, or is it heading in a direction where it's slowing down and the performance is slowing down? And as you think about that, when you're looking at, you know, your blended views, that will allow you to see if you could you start considering to kill it or not, right? So you can see that previously this creative was kicking butt, right? It was doing a 2.5 ROAS, $27 CPAs, and then, you know, the next week, let's just say, it was performing significantly worse, right? It was $46 CPAs, 1.4 blended ROAS. Give me 1 second here. And then finally, this week here, it started performing even worse, right? And this is when you start seeing this performance of a creative that goes worse and worse and worse, that is the sign to kill it, okay? Now, let's boil back down to creative testing and kill metrics, because you're going to have a lot more things that aren't going to work than you're going to have things that do work. That's the truth. About 5 to 10% of the creatives we test will perform, and even an even smaller percentage will actually be able to get skilled. So I would highly recommend that you consider that when approaching your testing, and to when testing, not just do this for the short term, but consistently hammer at it and consistently try new creative that is speaking directly to your target demo, that you're trying to crack higher and higher hook rates with, that you're trying to convince more people from that in that creative to go to your website by trying to improve your click-through rate. These are all things that I would say are super super important here. Okay, so I want to let me think of how I want to approach this. So a lot of the creatives that you test, like we said, are not going to work. You can see if we go to maximum view here on this campaign, you can see that we tested 42 different ad sets that each have had anywhere from 3 to 10 plus pieces of content inside of them. And you'll see that a lot of these are off, like 99% of these are off. And you'll see that I typically, things that show really early signs, and that's, I guess, what I want to talk about next, is like, what's the early sign of like, I need to cut it, you know, it's not making money, just cut the losses, right, on that creative. Let's touch on that. So you'll see a lot of these here at the bottom are great examples of that, as I really don't let them spend more than a couple $100 without killing them if they're not heading in the right direction. And you can see a lot of these here are very clear, right? They're not working. They have, if we look at the hook rates, look at these hook rates. Do you see why like the 25% is like one that I look at as like a standard? Because it can tell you right away. You could be running these for a day or two, and it's like, oh, okay, well the hook rate, hook rates here are all underneath. I mean, except this one here and this one here and this one here. They're all underneath 25%. And that's why it's like one thing that I look at, because it can be an early sign of things that you should kill. Same goes for, let's go to the conversion rate. So you can see, yes, some of these have a conversion rate that looks really, nice, but you'll see a lot of them are like 1%, 2%, 3%, 2%, 3%, right? So hopefully it's starting to click, and you guys can see, how this ties in together on creatives that get killed. Again, I like to let things run for a minimum of 5 to 7 days. I'll give it that buffer. And then I like to have them spend at least $100. Like, that's the minimum for my criteria. But I would say if you have the budget set a little bit lower and you let them run for that 5 to 7 days, that's more important than them spending a certain amount. just the time and letting them run through like a week, I would say is more important. Um, cool. So yeah, you'll notice a lot of these are killed because they did not hit the metrics that we needed them to hit. Um, Let me think what else. Analyzing. I'm kind of just throwing this all at the top of my head. I wanted to make a video that goes into this because I've had a lot of questions on just how to approach analyzing the account. Starting off budgets, I think that's another one that yeah, another one that I've had some questions on. I like to start off budgets right around the target cost per acquisition. So you'll see a lot of these start at around $35, as that's like my target cost per acquisition to acquire customers at. So I'll typically start them off at $35, let them run for 5 to 7 days, and then the ones that are having a few purchases, I'll let them run a little bit longer. The ones that like have one purchase or no purchases, they're getting killed, right? They're not heading in the right direction. These that I leave on, I let them run for a few more days. If they continue to get purchases, okay, I'll increase budgets. If they kind of are like just kind of working but kind of not working, and I have plenty of those examples. I mean, you could see like this one here. You could look at the cost per purchase here. What is this? You can see it started running. Oh, let's do like last 30 days. Yeah, so you can see I ran this one for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Yeah, 4 to 5 days, right? So I let this one run, but it's like the entire time, like $50, $44, 33, 106, like just it's not heading in the right direction. Does that make sense? Like if it's not heading in the right direction, kill it. Okay. And the things that do work, you can increase budgets on. I'd say 20% a day. Thing I want to end you guys with is don't media buy with the lowest performing shit in your ad account. That is how you lose money. If it's under your kill metrics, if it's under your break even cost per acquisition, right, that we talked about earlier, fucking kill it. That's how you do it. I mean, it's keep it simple, put creative in front of your target demographic, and that's what I got for you guys today.